Mike Benack, Director of Product Management with Nu-Calgon. Today we're going to talk about Rx11 and run through some training on it and touch on the benefits, features, and show a demonstration of how to use the product. First, before we get to talking exactly about the product, I want to talk about why we flush. One of the big reasons is contaminants inside of a system. Many times those contaminants are caused by burnouts from a compressor, and that could be anything from high temperatures inside the system. That can be low refrigerant charge, which will also contribute to those high temperatures, and it could be acid in the system. Acid will cause the motor winding insulation to break down, the system can short out, and again lead to a lot of contamination inside the system. And these pictures in the slides show some of the burnt motor windings and just a lot of the damage that can happen within an HVAC or air conditioning system. So a little bit about these contaminants that we're going to try and clean out of the system. They can be anything from moisture, poor service practices, maybe a contractor's not purging his lines well, or leaks within the system could get moisture in there. Also acid, when moisture gets into a system, it can cause acid, and then again, really cause a lot of damage with the compressor. And then oil sludge, that's one of the things that reduces lubrication in a system. Some of the pictures in here, you can see oil sludge plugs passages within the system. And then varnish, hard carbon, and copper plating are all other things that can happen within a system and need to be addressed before new equipment is put into place. So let's get right into it with Rx11 and talk about some of the features and benefits and what makes this product important. So it is OEM recommended. We've got York, Goodman, Daikin, Coleman, and Nordyne, which is now Nortec, all had a hand in recommending this product when 410A first came out. Instead of replacing line sets, if it wasn't possible, they recommended that the line sets be flushed with Rx11 before the new 410A equipment was put into place. And that was to get any of the old mineral oil out of the system and any of the contaminants that might be trapped in that mineral oil. So a little bit about Rx11-flush. It is a proven solvent, so it is part of the EPA SNAP program. And what that means is when we brought it out in 1999, we were replacing the refrigerant R11. So we wanted to make sure that this product was ozone friendly, it was non-toxic. So all these attributes about the product had to go through the EPA process to make sure that it did meet the standards. It is non-flammable, non-toxic, as I mentioned, and it leaves no residue, which is important at the end of the flush to make sure that you don't leave anything behind. And then it's the consistent boiling mixture. What that really means is when the flush job is complete, the contractor is going to pull vacuum on the system, and we want to make sure that all of the flush is evacuated from that system. So it's going to boil off. So you want to make sure that the entire contents of that, all of the chemistry within that system, all of the Rx11 does boil off, and it does. It's considered an azeotrope rather than a zeotrope. So it's an excellent degreaser. Again, it cleans the system quickly and efficiently without leaving any residue. It's removing anything from that sludge in the system that we talked about, carbon deposits that happen when excessive heat in the system breaks down the oil, moisture, acid, any of those oil residues that would be in that system after a burnout, all of those contaminants will be flushed out. It's particularly effective versus burnout residues, but also, again, very effective in cleaning line sets during retrofitting. So whether it's an older R22 piece of equipment being retrofitted to R410A or any other refrigerant, it's great for cleaning those line sets out. It really gives that system the best chance for a full recovery. The last thing the contractor wants is to put that new compressor in place, new expansion valve, and then have that clog up or have that compressor burn out again. So we want to eliminate that by flushing. It's easy to use. Essentially, you take the aerosol can, place the valve on top, and inject it into that line set or that system. It goes in as a liquid, and at the exit point, we're going to use some restrictions. So in the picture, you can see we either crimp that exit point down or provide some restriction with a smaller fitting, like a reducer. And all that does is build up that mass flow in the system. So it allows a little more pressure inside the system, keeping that flush a liquid as it goes all the way through. And then after you inject the flush into the system, we want to hit it with 120 psi nitrogen, and that really is the battering ram that pushes the liquid through the line, scours the walls, and pushes it into our catch can. So the flush is in there doing its job. As soon as the flush goes in, we hit it with that nitrogen, and that pushes everything out. And again, that boiling point is important. It boils at about 106 degrees Fahrenheit at atmospheric pressure. And what that does is ensure that it is all removed at the end of the job when the contractor opens the line or takes his equipment off and pulls vacuum. Everything boils off completely. So why do we want to flush line sets? Many times there's contaminants trapped in that oil that remains on the line set. So if it's retrofitting and we're leaving the old line sets, we want to make sure we get all the contaminants out of that line before putting in the new refrigerant and all the new components. Because the POE oil that is used with most new refrigerants does have the ability to scrub the line sets clean. So it will pick up all the contaminants, start circulating it through the system, potentially plugging expansion valves or dryers or anywhere else that there's a small orifice that could be plugged. In the picture, you can see on the left-hand side, these are the mineral deposits inside of a line set. It's a cross section of a line set before POE oil has run through it. And then on the right side, the line set after POE oil has scrubbed a lot of the contaminants off the line. So again, rather than have that in the system, we want to clean all the contaminants out before we put in the new refrigerant and oil. Another reason is adequate flushing will remove contaminants. It prevents plug metering devices and future burnout. So if you can remove any acid in that system, you've got a much better chance of preventing any burnouts from happening in the future. And it avoids callbacks. A plug metering device is a callback that a contractor has to make, and obviously he's not making money on that callback job. So same application here with line sets for flushing them, just kind of some tips is flush from an inside location to an outside ventilated area when available, and try and use gravity to your benefit. Flush from a higher elevation down to a lower elevation. And really the guide is for every half-inch line set, you're going to flush 20 to 30 seconds every 50 foot of that line set. So you can use that as an average starting point. And on suction line 7/8 of an inch, you're going to use about a 60 to 90 second purge for every 50 foot of line set. After that, after you put the flush in, you're going to hit it with the nitrogen purge. And again, 120 psi, and purge after all the liquid is gone for another 60 seconds or so to make sure everything's out of that line. So what about nitrogen? A lot of contractors will say, I don't need to flush with Rx11 because I've flushed with nitrogen. They've purged, they've blown nitrogen through, and they'll say maybe they got a little bit out or maybe nothing came out, so they assume the line is clean. Unfortunately, nitrogen doesn't have any degreasing capabilities. It'd be like cleaning your dirty hands with just the air from a blow dryer. You actually need something to break down the dirt and contaminants to get it off of your hands, or in this case, get something out of the line set. So we want to use Rx11, which has vapor greasing capabilities. It has that chemical solvency, and then you get the mechanical action of a liquid actually going through and picking up and carrying off any of that debris that it breaks down. So next what we'll do is a nice demonstration that shows why flushing with nitrogen doesn't work, and then again why Rx11 does work. So now we're going to do a demonstration to show how well Rx11-flush works, and actually use some nitrogen as well to show that nitrogen alone will not flush oil out of a system. So first thing we're going to do is add some burnt refrigeration oil into this tubing. This tubing is designed to mimic a line set or any type of coil in a system. And so I'm going to put in some burnt refrigeration oil. So now that we have the burnt oil in the system, I'm going to attempt to flush this oil out with just nitrogen. So I have it set at 120 PSI, and we'll give it a blast of nitrogen and see what happens. So what you can see is the oil does just coat the lines, doesn't actually flush through the lines and actually be broken down or flushed out. So we have a pretty good coating of oil now through the line set. So now what we're gonna do is try flushing this out with the Rx11-flush. So I've got a 2-pound cylinder here. We'll turn the valve on and we'll inject some flush in here, and it doesn't take a lot. It'll only take a few seconds to fill this roughly 25-foot line set. So what you can see here now is a lot of the oil has been broken down and liquefied, and in the bottom cylinders here, I'll give it a shake so you can kind of see it's darker at the end. This oil's been liquefied now, and this is we'll get to the next step, which is very important, is flushing with or purging with nitrogen. So now that we've put the Rx11-flush in there, the next step is to purge with nitrogen. So I'm gonna take my 120 PSI of nitrogen and purge the line clean. And what you can see is all of the Rx11-flush broke down the oil, and now the nitrogen is what pushed everything out. And now you've got clean line sets or a clean system, whatever it was you were flushing, and all of the oil that was in the system is now in the catch can, which I have over here, and then you can see it's liquefied. So the liquefied oil can be in the catch can, and it can be disposed properly like used oil. So the demonstration shows why flushing is important. And what about some of the obstacles you might run into? Performance versus cost is one of those things. With nitrogen, contractors will say Rx11 is too expensive, or I don't need to flush for that. If the contractor really looks at how much they use, and we don't use that much flush in a job, a 1-pound canister can flush up to 2 line sets, and the 2-pounder can flush up to 5 line sets. Looking at the numbers, they're talking about really less than $20 to $30 per job if they use the flush right, because they don't need to use an entire can each job. So keep that in mind if you ever get the obstacle of it costs too much. If they use it correctly, it's really not that expensive of a job. We do also offer a liquid version. It's the same formula, same great benefits of it, where it degreases, it breaks down everything, it's non-toxic, non-flammable, but it comes in a liquid version that can be poured into a separate container, the tank, and then purged into the line using nitrogen. So it's just another way of getting it into the system. And on top of that, here's the entire lineup that we have. And looking at the lineup, we've got an answer for pretty much every job, all different sizes, everything from the 1-pound flushes to the 2-pound flushes, all the different starter kits which come with a combination of tools and flush, and then the larger cylinders. This is a 26-pound cylinder for larger jobs or contractors that just flush and do a lot of conversions for equipment, and the 13-pound cylinder as well. It's a way for them to save a little money, buy a bigger cylinder, and just meter in how much they need to use, along with all the other tools and accessories that we offer. So thanks again for watching this training for Rx11. If you have further questions, feel free to reach out to your Nu-Calgon account manager, or you can always call us on the 800 line here at the office and talk with any of the technical support staff. We'll help you out with any job or help your customer out with any job that they're working on. Thank you.